Hello everybody and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. What a beautiful spring day it is today. It's just at the end of March, 1st of April when I'm recording this, and it's absolutely beautiful out there. The birds are singing and spring is upon us. And all across the UK there are new births, new food, new buds in our woodlands and chicks in nests along the hedgerows, and there's a magical feeling in the air as our connection to Mother Earth renews and we start our seasonal year again. Every year, as the new moon phases pass in March and April, I usually receive my first report of a woodwose or a wildman in our British woodlands. This year the reports came in to me around 8 weeks earlier than any other year before. There are also 3 times the number of new reports, and I'm unsure what has caused this increase and change, other than the COVID lockdown and the weird weather we've had. Yesterday, being the 29th of March, I received a report from the Maldon area of Essex. I was contacted by a lady who was waiting for a friend, and she had a very strange experience. We discussed what had happened, and I thanked her for returning to the spot and trying to debunk her experience. Hi Deborah, I contacted you today due to an experience I had around 2 weeks ago now. I wanted to be 100% sure about what I saw before I reported it to you. So I spent the time in between revisiting the area and doing a possible size comparison with my friend, and also looking for anything that I could have confused or misidentified with the large dark figure I saw whilst waiting on the lane that day. I went back today to look at the place, and I'm in no doubt about what I saw. I was 99% sure beforehand, to be honest, but I confirmed it today. He called me somehow, and I looked to where he was standing, and he walked across in front of me. I saw him at a distance, but it was daylight, and I could see him clearly, and he moved in an odd flowing way. He wasn't hiding, but he was using the bushes and shrubs to disguise himself. When he stepped between the thinner parts of the hedge, you could see him clearly, and it was not a human male. Let me explain. I was sitting in my car at the corner of the lane, waiting for a friend who I was picking up. I was just sat there on my phone, looking down the hill, just daydreaming, looking out the window. I was completely startled when something said, "Why don't you put your phone down and say hello?" I was absolutely shocked. I looked up and I saw something across the field in the hedgerow. I was looking at the hedge and something in the corner caught my attention. Now the field was empty, there was no other people around, and I saw a large dark figure. I could clearly see its head and shoulders, and it was going along the other side of the hedge. I saw him pass where the trees were very thin at the top. I thought it was a person walking a dog. Then I saw the head going back the other way. It was a bit further along the hedge. Then finally, they moved across the thin bit of foliage, and I could see him clearly. The figure had a weird, stooping, dipping gait. I don't really know how to describe it. I kept waiting to see them walk up the field and come into view, but they didn't. Then I realised how tall they must have been for me to have seen them. That's one of the reasons I went back to check. My friend came back to the car. I told him what had just happened and what I'd seen, and we just carried on our business like normal, as if nothing strange had happened. Later that evening, I thought about the whole event, and I thought, hang on, that was bloody odd. And also hearing a voice speak to me, tell me to look up, just doesn't make sense. I can't understand it. Last Monday, we went back to the lane and we looked at the hedge and the field closely. There was a dog walker there, and he was much smaller than the figure that I saw. It made me realise just how big that figure was. Today, we went to the field to look at the hedge from the other side, where it would have been walking. There was stuff woven into the hedge, almost twisted and broken. The hedge is massive, And where the trees are thin, where I saw him, was about 8 feet from the ground. I left an apple, I left him some vine tomatoes, and I also left him an amethyst crystal. I know he knew I was there. I could feel it in my solar plexus. I tell you what though, I'm glad he was far away. I'm not quite ready for too much of a close-up just yet. My friend stood in the same spot where I'd seen the figure, and I couldn't see him. The figure was much, much taller than he was. I am often out in nature, and I consider myself a child of nature. I hold the gods and the goddesses close to my heart, and I feel blessed to have seen one of the forest giants. Now there is another report from 1997 that comes from the Ricketts Mere area, and that's from a chap who was fishing, and he said, I'm into my fishing, and I always have been. A few years back, I'd spent a night fishing at Ricketts Mere. Now, I've fished a lot of nights, and I am mostly out and about in the dark. I'm not scared of the dark, nothing worries me. I'm used to the noises of the night, whether it's in the woods or out on the lake. I'd done fishing for this night and not had any problems at all. It was all quiet. In fact, it was too quiet. I hadn't had any takes either that night. So I was wrapped in my sleeping bag all night, waiting on the float bobbing. Now I'm not sure if I was awake or had just nodded off and was dreaming at this point, but I heard something walking around the grass behind my bivvy. I stayed still, just peeping out of my bag and straining to hear what it was. It was just before dawn, around 5 a.m, when I swear that a dark shape of a person walked right past the front of my oval brolly. I sat up quick smart, I grabbed the hammer, I keep under the bed chair, and I jumped out shouting. I was ready to have a small row with whoever was snooping around my rods. I knew nobody else was on the lake, and there were no houses or any other reason for anyone to be there except to be fishing. So to my amazement, I'm putting on the torch, I put it out there and I'm shouting, and there's nobody or nothing there. Just my rods and my swingers on the floor where I'd left them. I even got the candlelight torch out and swept the meadow I was fishing from, and nothing. Now that scared the shit out of me, and maybe it doesn't sound that bad to you, but it certainly made me think about going out fishing at night on my own. Until next time, good night.